All right, guys, welcome back. Happy New Year, 2023, first podcast.
It's been a minute.
It's been nice to take a little bit of a break off. I hope people understood.
I hope you guys missed us. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I hope they missed us too. I think everybody was I think people in general probably weren't consuming that much content around the holidays.
Everybody just takes that time off. I feel like you're right.
Yeah.
And we needed that time off too. So,
Yeah.
especially this guy over here.
I needed that time off. If you don't know what happened, I got you probably do know. I got a hair transplant from the hairs under my armpits. And
they're good hairs.
Yeah,
strong, solid hairs.
Strong, solid, thick hairs that are going to be super
They needed to be put somewhere.
Could you imagine if that's what they did?
Oh, ouch.
No, but not even the extraction. Like, let's say they put me under and they extracted that. Like, how different of the follicle would look.
It's like this weird, thick, wiry hair. It's like basically doing pubes.
It's exactly like doing pubes, which that was my first choice to say, but I wanted to be a little bit more, controlled with the way I talk.
Well, could you imagine? Yeah.
Yeah,
let's back up.
Yeah.
Mid-December, you got your procedure done, outpatient clinic.
Yes. Got that done. It's funny. I used to go back and forth whether or not I wanted to get the hair transplant.
Yeah, you were kind of.
I was on the fence about it. It's an expensive procedure, but I had a roommate in college who had it done, and his didn't turn out well.
I think it's because you hear both kind of sides of the story.
Yes.
You always hear the horror stories, or when it didn't work, and you're like, "Is it a waste of money? Should I do it?"
And the ones that resonate with you are always the bad ones. Right?
Yes, always.
Yeah,
always. And then you don't really hear like the 90% of the stories that actually probably do work out for people.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really blown away that after I got it done, all the people that we'd have dinner with, they'd ask me about it because their spouse is considering it. And they would, I was blown away how many successful stories I've heard about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't really hear as many because they're not as dramatic.
Yeah.
The dramatic ones are always the ones, well, I had this buddy and he got it done. And then he grew 3 heads. Right.
You're like, I could barely deal with one head right now.
So,
let alone 2.
It's the horror stories you always hear about for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, so it's like a gamble behind all that stuff. And then I went on this path where I was like, well, like what everybody does in the comps are like, just shave it and, be content with it.
Right.
I did.
You did do that.
I did.
Nobody in the family liked it.
Nope. Could you be nicer? Don't just.
You were so cute.
No, but don't just. In the face. Just below the eyebrows, is that what you said?
It just I don't think it just suited you. It might just be me too. I don't like when heads are shaved completely bald. I like you were fine when you had
stubble,
it more like a buzz.
So
I didn't mind, but completely shaved,
when
you just reminded me of your dad, and I was
really. Which is funny that you say that because I think when there's a little bit of stubble there, I think what ends up happening is somebody who is insecure about the shape of their head, which I am, it's like a light bulb shape, which I've said before. I think you kind of see added hair to it. You go, well, now it's this awkward stage. It's like this.
Really?
You're in this. When you shave your head and then you go, okay, well, now I'm growing my hair out. And there's going to be a 4 week to a 6 week period where it's just stubble. That's just a little bit longer. And you go, oh, you're just somebody who just doesn't care about how your hair looks. And that's what I didn't like about it. So that's what I was like. I also wanted a razor because I wanted to get when you had your entire life and your hair is long and you shave it all off, you're pale on top. You stand out like a Q-tip kind of thing. And so the approach was that, well, since it's in the summertime, it might as well razor it and then get a tan. So if it's dark enough, then it becomes more natural.
So when you look at pictures of you with that, how do you feel?
I don't like it one bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. I didn't like it back then either.
It was just the next step.
It was the only option that I had. Yeah. It's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're like, I either have hair that looks like I'm a wet cat when I go swimming, or if we're talking about an example at the beach, or I look like somebody who went to prison but didn't
tan their top of their head.
Yes. So I don't like it. So, and in fact, you do a very good job about keeping pictures of all the family activities. And so every time we have this Aura digital frame that has all the pictures uploaded to it, every time I walk past it and it's like an old picture, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't like it. Especially I had this like, there's a period of time that I wanted to grow my beard, and I can't grow a good beard.
I like your beard. I like your facial hair.
Well, I don't have a beard. I have facial hair. That's all I have.
I like it though.
I can grow out a good mustache. I have a very Al Qaeda beard if I wanted to grow it. You know what I mean? It's very Middle Eastern. It's very patchy, well, it's not. It's patchy on the cheeks, but it's very long underneath the chin.
Oh, I see.
So it's like big sideburns, big under the chin.
Yeah.
And then patchiness down the middle, and so you just look, and then you shave the top of your head because I think I'm gonna balance it all out, and it just does not look good.
I just never was a fan of like the bald head look. Even like people are obsessed with Jason Statham and like the way his like bald head looks sexy. I never liked it.
He's our only guy, really. Like if
he's
Jason,
the only one. But even then, I never was like attracted to that. I was like, I don't find him attractive. I just never was.
He didn't look rugged and like badass. No.
To me, rugged is like the facial hair.
But he has facial hair. He has the
maybe
same
he
stubble.
does now a little bit, but for a while there he didn't. It was just
don't start talking ill about Jason Statham. This is what bothers me.
You are iconic.
It's funny that he's our only Oprah to the bald guy.
I know. The Rock tries.
Well, The Rock is African American. The majority of like really cool African American dudes are bald. You know,
true.
So when you look at like The Rock, you go,
he pulls it off. Yeah,
of course. And in fact, if The Rock went and got a hair transplant and got the thickest head of hair, which I actually think The Rock is capable of growing.
But aren't there like pictures of him in the past with like the?
No, he has an afro. He's got solid, strong hair.
Yeah, he just chooses to.
I think it's a good look for him.
It's a look.
It's a
definitely
choice.
A look.
Now, LeBron James, I don't know if you've seen a picture of LeBron James. He has a strong receding hairline. And he recently got it done, and it's very natural. They brought it down.
He got a hair transplant?
Yeah. His headband, this is one of the highest paid athletes in the NBA. His hairline went so far back up that he would actually move his headband really high up, just kind of out of like, it looks very like, oh, I don't care. Like, I'm just kind of whatever. Like when you put your hat like very barely on.
Oh, yeah.
But
you think it's strategic?
But I think it's strategic enough to be like, it's not following that.
Yeah.
And so he got it done. I don't know how recently, but he got it done, and he looks, he's back to being a really rich, athletic, successful, talented guy.
I feel like if there's a time in your life to do it or something where you are going to be more confident, you're going to feel better, just do it if you can.
Right.
So you felt like this was the time to do it.
This was the time to do it.
You finally you kind of pulled the trigger. You're like, and you decided. Yes.
So listen, there was a time where you and I were we had a hard time financially in life. And I remember looking at people, including family members, who spent money in what we would consider like a
reckless.
Yeah, like my brother was a great example of that. Not to speak ill of him, but I remember when you and I were really, really struggling, and my brother bought a sports car. Mm-hmm. This is his like toy car, the Sunny Day car. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling you, I was like, can you believe, why would you ever do that? This is so silly.
Yeah, because in that time, it just seemed like...
Yes.
Like for us financially, like we were barely like making it. So it was hard to find justification in somebody buying that.
Correct.
Or do you feel like we were also kind of... I feel like there's this sense of like, it makes you feel better when you kind of judge somebody else for buying
because
something.
It makes you feel like you're responsible and they're not.
That's true.
All right. That's why I think as people in this weird way, and I'm still trying to figure out the psychology behind it, is like, why do we celebrate when really successful, rich celebrities, when they like fail or get canceled into something, right? When you go like,
people love seeing other people fail. It's
because
really
I feel
sad.
like it brings that person back down to an average Joe.
Now we're like the even.
Correct. And so I remember looking at him and I was like, why would he do that? This is so stupid. I remember because you had LASIK done when you were still living with your folks. So your parents paid for it, right? And I've been wearing glasses since I was 10. And you were like, this is the best money that could ever be spent. One day, if we have some resources, you should totally do it. And I was like, listen.
I told you so many times.
Many times. And your brother-in-law, he said the same thing. He's like, the best decision ever made.
Yeah.
But I think at that point, before when LASIK first came out, it was like $7,000 or something like that. Then it got bumped down to like $4,000.
I think it was like 10 at first.
Was it 10?
Yeah. And but then it slowly started coming down.
When the average person was getting it done, is roughly around that $5,000 mark. And I remember you were like, one day you should do it. And I was like, why would I do that? Like I've worn contacts since I was 10, or glasses since I was 10, contacts since I was 16. I have a system down.
I'm so used to it. It's not a big deal.
And I even told you, I was like, if I had an extra $5,000 laying around, I'd find other things better to spend on.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
And so as you know, your career evolves and you have the resources, you do it and you go, oh yeah, the best money ever spent. And you do it because
you realize it actually does save you a lot of time in the mornings.
I don't think
hassle.
about it. I don't think about it.
You don't think about
no.
it. I remember feeling that. I'm like, I can just wake up and see. I'm not having to wake up, find my way to the bathroom, because I couldn't see anything either. I was pretty blind. And then having to like find my contacts, and sometimes they don't go in the right way, and sometimes I put it on and it's ripped. Like I just felt like there were so many inconveniences, which is fine, because even having the resource of like contacts is amazing compared to glasses.
Greatest invention in the world.
Yeah, amazing invention. But to even step it up one like step further and be like, I can actually see when I wake up,
right,
was such a gift to me. I just remember feeling like so grateful that I could do that, because I hadn't been able to do that since 5th grade. I got glasses. That's so young. Yeah,
it's the freedom behind it. But even with that and wearing them for so long and being so strapped for cash, I was like, there's no way I would spend it. I'd find other things to spend that money on. And
you always have that.
When the opportunity came, in fact, I guess what pushed me closer to be like, just do it. It was kind of like the pandemic thing. And the idea behind when there became a shortage of things, and you go, well, there's a glass shortage, and now there was what's other shortages that were there? There was a lot of shortages.
Toilet paper.
Well, obviously, that was a clear one.
Yeah.
But now there's chips, and
there's like a paint shortage.
There's so
all
many
random.
And you go, what if there is, I don't know, contacts are made of silicone, whatever. You go, what if there's a silicone contact lens shortage?
There's what is the antibiotic that's really popular? A shortage.
Right now?
Amoxicillin. Yeah, shortage.
Yeah.
Right now.
Or even like, I mean, if we're going to talk real dark kind of thing, you're like, well, what if something, you get stranded or somebody like kidnaps you, whatever it is.
I remember you telling me that. You're like, I want to be able to protect my family. Like in any kind of circumstance, I want to be able to see.
Right. You hear a knock in the middle,
yeah.
You hear a noise in the middle of the night, you're not going to go put your contacts on. You're going to get your glasses on. But then you get into, let's say, a rough and tumble in the middle of the night with the intruder.
You lose your glasses. So you wanted to be like
and I've still this day, I always this. I don't like being vulnerable. I have no problem being vulnerable with my emotions. I have a problem being physically vulnerable. I don't like being, and I've had this plenty of times, had my truck, which is a heavy duty vehicle, stuck in slush in very deep, deep snow that it's like a heavy vehicle that's sinking. And then you go, well, you can't get out. I don't like that vulnerability. You and I were at your parents' cabin over the holidays, and they have this really steep driveway in McCall, and there's a lot of snow that comes out there. But there's freezing rain below it, and we couldn't get up. I don't like that vulnerability. And
so for you, it's like preparing yourself as best you can to not be vulnerable.
Correct.
And that means doing every possible thing you can.
Correct.
To yourself.
Correct. Yeah. Now, the hair thing has nothing to do with that. But
you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want somebody to break in the middle of the night and be like, you're losing your hair, man.
Yeah. You see,
all of a sudden, you're extra vulnerable.
You're like, hey, you look like a wet cat. Oh, don't say that.
And all of a sudden, you melt into a puddle.
So that's exactly the case. All of that leads towards these things like if you have the means, like, are you going to do it? Now, I am not. People keep asking me, are you happy you did it? And that's probably
loaded question.
It's a very loaded question, because if you told me, if you told me, hey, 1,000%, you will never lose this hair, then I would say yes. I'm very happy I did it. But my fear is that I'm not guaranteed it.
Oh, that's the thing, is like time will tell. You can't really answer that question yet.
But if time does tell and you go, hey, this hair does not stick around for you, it didn't take, as they call it in the hair transplant world.
Will you still be happy you did it?
Yes, because what I would say is like, that was I've exhausted every chance.
Yeah.
There is literally no other chance. There's no other like opportunity. So there you go, that is it. That's just it. Like there's nothing you can do about it. You've tried everything you can. Tough luck. As opposed to you being 60 and you got whatever's left on your head and you go, I wish X, Y, and Z. That's a different conversation because you're not going to go do it at 60. You're like, whatever. I got made it this
That's
far.
what I'm saying. Now is the time to do it if you're going to do it.
What I found very funny, interesting is the doc that did it, he told me, we're talking about confidence, and they were saying like 47% of the men admit to the fact that if they could have their hair back, they would. Meaning because, okay, and I think it's to an untrained eye, you go like, well, that's a weird thing to ask. But the reality is like men are, through society, are kind of known for, after a while, after they get married, to be like, whatever, I don't take care of my body, the beer belly, the whatever, like, I don't care about how I look, right? I already got the girl, I got the kids, I got the house.
So let themselves go mentality.
Correct. But when you ask them on a confidential piece of paper on a survey, 47% of them go like, the ones that did lose hair, you're like, I wish I had it back. And so they saw like this huge, like the ones that did get their hair trimmed, like the huge amount of confidence. Now, I still have enough confidence because of hats. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, it's like 90% of my living is done in hats.
Yeah. I will say, because after you got the transplant, you weren't able to wear a hat for 7 days.
Yes.
Or longer.
7 days.
And then you didn't really wear a hat anyway after that, I feel like. Because the holidays, you didn't, like, we weren't really going.
We're at home, yeah.
And then the other day, I think it was yesterday. When you went to go pick up my skis, you wore a hat. Yeah. And it was backwards. And I was like, whoo, mama.
Back. He's back. He's back.
I just feel like it's been a while. So I was like, I'm getting hot. Is it hot in here?
I can't wear a backward tie right now because the perforated front hat thing.
Is
you
it
could
like,
see the awkwardness.
That's why I was
you
like,
could just
he
see the
doesn't
awkward.
really wear his hat backwards.
Yeah, you could see the awkward part there.
Gross. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I could push my hair down, but what I guess the point is, it's like, even though guys in front of you would say, I don't care. Mm-hmm. Deep down inside, on a very emotional aspect, they go like, I do care.
Everybody
and I wish I had it. I might not style it, but I wish I had it.
Yeah. Have you had a lot of comments telling you that you're like vain and like?
I try not to read comments, but I
wanting to do that.
You're going real dark.
No, I'm just wondering because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, I would never spend the money, to do that. I just wonder.
It was very supportive.
It
was very supportive.
Right?
I was actually. That was the most vulnerable video I've ever put out, but I don't, it's not like it took me a lot to be like, oh, I need to like build up this courage to put it out. I was like, screw it, whatever. Like
you were already documenting it.
I've already told people I got a vasectomy on camera. Like who cares about
You had a pack of frozen peas on your crotch, genitals.
Yeah. On a podcast.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, there's nothing about me that's like really off the table. But I did keep checking back on that video, and I was pleasantly surprised how the majority was like, good for you.
You do you.
Or you're giving me the confidence to do it myself. And the amount of DMs I got was crazy too. They're like, hey, and I was like, listen, let me put out a video. Like that way it'll answer everybody's questions. I went up to like go through that. So deep down inside, everybody wants to.
Yeah. But did it surprise you how many people were interested? Yeah, like interested in like knowing more?
Yes, a lot. Both males and females. Like women for their husbands, husbands asking for them.
We had a couple friends say something like that about that they like actually would want their husbands to get it. And I'm like, oh, that's surprising. To me, it didn't matter if you did or didn't.
I have a very distant cousin who I haven't spoken to in 12 years maybe. She DM'd me, and I didn't know this, but she's losing hair.
Oh.
And so she was like,
so it could go, I mean, even
it could go either direction. So
yeah.
she's like, and in fact, I actually read some comments about like a few like African-American gals who like were losing their hair, and they were like, I got it done and I feel so much better. So yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, women can lose it too. I've seen, some like, especially up here, the same kind of recession.
Receding, yeah, it's like I said, it's hard. I remember when I was going in to get it done the day of, like the I don't know if you call them nurses, because it's like a plastic surgery place. They're like the gals who was like checking your blood pressure. She's like, "Are you excited? Today's the day." And I was like, Yeah, I guess. Because I'm like, I don't know if this is
Yeah. Yeah.
LASIK is a different story. It's like, yes, I'm very excited to be able to see.
It's going to change your life immediately.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who are like, I got LASIK done and I can't see anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're more like.
It's such a drastic change immediately.
Correct.
With the hair, you have to wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, it has to grow back first. And then who knows, however many years down the road, hopefully it stays.
Yeah. It's it's a
harder question, I guess, to answer. Yeah.
It's just kind of things like I'm whatever. I do have these weird swings on a daily basis where like now that first of all, recovery for me sucked.
Oh, recovery was horrible for you.
Yeah, and
poor guy.
I wouldn't want to scare anybody with the recovery, be like, oh, the recovery is gonna suck.
You were the 1 out of 10.
I was the 1 out of 10. I will say the procedure does not hurt at all. And my first 3 days were a cakewalk. Mm-hmm. But they say like 1 to 3 people they have a reaction where the local anesthetic that they inject into your scalp.
1 in 3 or 1 in 10?
1 in 10.
Oh.
Did I say 3?
You said 1 in 3.
1 in 10. The local anesthetic that they inject in your scalp to like numb it all up. The fluid drains into like follows the path of least resistance, goes into their eyes, into their nose, into their cheeks, and all that stuff. I got that end of the stick, and I also heard that could be kind of prevented. I had some people comment saying that in Europe, when they do this procedure, they're like, you're supposed to wear your headband for 3 days. Kind of makes sense.
That would make more sense.
It makes sense. I don't know.
Or at least get another headband. I know that yours like started coming off anyway.
Right. But just wrap it.
But I wonder if you could have wrapped something else.
It makes a lot more sense. But at the same time, it's just a skull there. So where does it go? I don't know.
It has. Yeah. Where would it go?
The fluid has to drain
slowly.
It has to get absorbed through the muscle or the fat.
Yeah. But then, if that happens only to 1 in 10, what happens to the rest of the people? Where does it go?
That's maybe their body figures out a way. Maybe they have a fatter head.
A lot more fat in their skull.
I don't know.
In their forehead.
Yeah. Maybe if you have a light bulb shaped head, your body has a harder time absorbing.
There's science. Facts.
Yeah. So the recovery sucked for me because of that. It was like
the fluid.
If you've seen the YouTube video and all the, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you should see it because I've documented every single day.
Watch it.
I don't look like the same person.
No, you look like a completely different person. And what was wild to me was how quickly it was going down your face.
It's like a day by day thing. Yeah.
Like 4 hours would go by and you could clearly see that it was already like further down your face.
In my eyelids
wild.
or my sinuses. Yeah. So it's been wild in that aspect. I have a bunch of like post-nasal drip that I've had for like since I was 16. And I feel like that even made things a lot worse because right now, because of the fluid and inflammation there, like I have these like migraines that I like, these headaches, these sinus headaches, I guess that's what I'd call them. So, but yeah.
I wonder if you have like a sinus infection too.
How do you tell that?
You can't really tell. It's just like the doctor told me if it's been like a couple weeks and it's still hurting and you feel this congestion, usually it means.
But I mean, if I take a Dayquil, I'm fine. And then until tomorrow at the same time.
I think that it's antibiotics for a sinus infection. But
maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough for you. But eventually you looked better. And I do feel like it was during the holidays, so you don't have to like go a lot of places.
That was nice. I took some weeks. Yeah, I took some time off.
You had your cute little hat on.
Yeah, the Peaky Blinders hat. I got some time off, which was a perfect time to do it. And we kind of anticipated. We got a few videos ahead. All in all, I mean, it's, I hope it takes. I hope it, but it was
time will tell.
Time will tell, yeah.
But then you were saying that you also, you will probably have to go one more time.
Correct.
In about what, a year? Yeah.
So they said that your first transplant, and this is where a lot of people get different kind of feedback of what a procedure like this costs because it kind of depends how many grafts you get. And it's not like you get to select. They
tell you?
They say, they go, based off of what you're trying to do here, we can do X amount of grafts, and that X amount of grafts is going to cost you X amount of dollars. And so that's why some people will get like a crazy spectrum of like what a procedure like that will cost. That's based off.
It varies.
Yeah. Like one of the guys, a buddy of mine on the East Coast, he DM'd me and he was like, I got a consultation and it was like double the price. And I go, that's crazy. And he goes, well, I'm also getting double the amount of transplant. I was like,
so it's the same. Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
What was
so, and then they told you.
Oh, yeah. So based off of that, based off the amount of numbers, they said this will get you to 60% of the density of the hair. And after that, you can get more if you want, but then that second procedure will get you to 80% density. And the nice thing is that second procedure is like an eighth of the cost of like the original thing. So it's, the second procedure is like super affordable.
Probably pretty quick too.
I don't know about that. It's probably the same. It's not like this procedure took that long, but he said it's about an eighth of the cost, or at least the number he gave me based off my horrible math education. I would say I call that an eighth.
Yeah.
And to put it in perspective, and I said this in the video, is if you look at, in this example that he said, so Elon Musk got 3 procedures done. And if you Google Elon Musk PayPal, there's a picture of him when he sold PayPal. He looked rough.
His hairline is pretty far back there.
Rough. And if you look at him now, he's got this thick, bushy head.
Yeah.
And he said he got 3 procedures done on that. So, I don't know. Time will tell. Especially when the second procedure is far more affordable.
Yeah.
If this sticks around, I might go through that process again just to get it over with, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
It just depends. Yeah. How he even told me it.
Yeah. And that's what he kind of said. He goes like, I think he'll be happy with 60.
So it's like you might not even want to.
Well, yeah. Who knows? If I ever do, it'll probably be like chasing the other hair that's about to leave, like on top. But I don't know. I'm not.
It's so crazy to me that they could like make hair follicles
in a
different place.
Well, they're not making.
Well, they're transplanting them. But I mean, they put holes in your head.
That's crazy.
But did they put holes where follicles used to be, or did they just inserted holes wherever?
It was a gardening game. That's all it was.
I always wondered that. Like, obviously, when you lose a follicle, it's dead. It can never regrow back.
Correct. The blood flow is dead.
Yeah, but can you still see it? Like, are they putting the hair in the same place?
No.
Or are they just kind of
no.
anywhere?
They literally, and this is how wild it is and how thought through it is they go, okay, so we extracted 1,500 follicles. That's what they did with me in the back, from the back. The follicle is the seed, right? It's not truly the hair. The hair will actually break off, but then the follicles, the seeds are there. And you're trying to get to a blood source, right? Blood source is like water for it, essentially, like a seed. They literally, once they extracted them, started poking holes, and the holes were being poked till blood came out in the direction that your hair naturally goes. So if my hair naturally sways,
how do they know that?
Well, because they look if like your hair naturally is going like from left to
and then
right.
They poke it that way.
They're poking it that way.
That's so interesting because of course you don't want your hair, the new hair, to grow
straight out, right?
Direction.
So they're following that exact line.
That is definitely a science.
It's
like an art.
It's an art at that point. I don't think it's a science. I think at that point it's like an art.
Yeah, because you have to make it all flow.
Yes.
So interesting. Wow.
It was wild when they were like, what kind of hairline do you want? And it's wild because you could be like, well, give me the same thing, but like bring it in or bring it out. But you at that point be like, well, I've always like been jealous of people who had like more of like a lower hairline kind of thing. They go, cool, let's do it then. Like, and you have like 3 other people who are like,
choose your hairline.
Well, they were like, that'll look good on you. That will not. Like at one point we were happy with the hairline, and then they're like, wait, furrow your brow, and I did, and they go, no, we got to move that up because that's going to interfere with that.
Like they know.
Well, like right now, so it's like furrow your brow. Okay, so you could see not much, but you could see a little bit. So let me touch it. So like right here is about like where
you don't want it to go.
You don't want it to go there, so you got to go a little bit higher. So or else your hair on top becomes like your eyebrows. Essentially, they move up and down.
Yeah.
So right now you're doing that. Your hair is not moving up or down.
Yeah.
So
some people can.
Okay, do that again. Do it. So right here, there's like the natural line.
Yeah.
So this is literally the furthest.
What do you think about my hairline?
I'm jealous of it.
It's a good hairline.
I'm jealous.
You should have got a widow's peak. That would have been cool.
How hilarious would the psychopath
that's what
walks
I wanted.
in? Hey, I've always loved vampire movies. Give me a widow's peak.
Give me a widow's peak.
I'll pay extra.
Whatever the cost is.
Do you know what's even wilder? They do beard transplant. I don't know what the hair is.
What hair? Because it's different hair.
I don't know.
It's pubes. It's got to be pubes.
It has to be pubes. It's either that or pubes.
Where would it come from?
I think it comes from the bottom of the jaw.
Where you have more.
Yeah. And they fill in any patches they have. That's wild.
That is wild. Because I feel like beard is like, I don't know. I feel like all beards look good. I've never seen
And beards are interesting because I've definitely, even though how patchy my beard is, I've had more hair with every year come out. Like parts like right here didn't connect, now it connects. Like it's just
so slowly somehow.
Yeah. So maybe when I'm 70, I might have
a full beard, babe.
That would be cool. And then I die at 71.
And a full head of hair.
And I die at 71.
You'll have a full head of gray hair
Broke.
and gray beard. Yeah.
Broke, but full
You're going to
beard.
look good. You're going to look real good.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So you have that opportunity in a year. You can go get that done. We'll see what it all looks like.
We'll update.
Yeah. I think
as it goes. I was surprised when you came home. I was expecting it to look more bloody on the top. You didn't really have like a lot of.
It was just inflamed. It was red.
It was just red, little dots. But I thought you would like be bleeding from your scalp down your face.
I think blood like that like coagulates pretty quickly.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And the other thing I was really surprised about was how quickly your hair started growing. Well, it hasn't fallen out yet.
It didn't grow. So it's
growing.
Well, it's the same hair. Yes, it's growing, but it's just. So to me, I'm seeing it as it took root, right? Yeah. So it is like it got some blood source. Yeah. It is growing, but there are some spots that the shaft of the hair broke off, but
which is normal.
You could, and that's what they said. They said it will happen. That means like it didn't enough blood source didn't get to like feed the whole stem.
But it's still
the follicle's still in there. They go. Yeah. So he said like we'll put it in. There's a good chance it'll fall off. But don't worry.
But a lot of them didn't.
So, there's a little section right here. It did, and so it's we'll see what this fall looks like. I think by fall it should be decent.
Same a length as your other hair.
Yeah, it was actually interesting because he said like one side of my head, which I think was this side maybe, has more hair falling off. So it was like I was receding in
it wasn't symmetrical.
It wasn't not a symmetrical receding line, and I don't know what that is.
Do you sleep on that side more?
No, it's just
you were stressed more on that side.
Yeah. My left side is very stressed. My right side is really chill.
Stressed on the
my
left
right
side.
I have palsy. Is it what it's called? Dropsy, or is it palsy? I think it's just palsy. You've had it. You've had palsy.
Bell's
Palsy.
palsy.
Yeah, you had it for like a day.
I did. No, I had it for a week. An entire week. Or was it 2 weeks? I can't remember. Half my face was paralyzed.
And did you just wake up like that?
No, it was so I remember it was a slow process. So I don't know. I still don't know to this day, like what happened. And there's still times where I'll look at a picture and my one side of my mouth still doesn't go as far out when I smile.
Interesting.
As my other, and my eye as well.
Huh.
It didn't go back to the way it was.
So for those 2 weeks where you're like, this is my good eye.
Yeah. Well, this is the worst story. Did I ever tell this? Did we ever tell this story?
Not on the podcast.
So it was like the day I was moving to Seattle when I was 19 years old. And I remember that day I felt a little like my face felt a little like weird. I remember drinking coffee and it spilled down my face. And I was like, that was weird. But it didn't feel like I couldn't move it. It just like, that was a weird thing. And then I remember my eye feeling a little bit like I couldn't blink. And like my muscles just felt a little tense, on that side of my face. But other than that, of course, I've never had this before. I didn't know what was going on. I left Idaho maybe like in the afternoon. By the time I drove to Seattle, it was completely like...
In 8 hours, it was...
Yeah, paralyzed. I remember getting to Seattle and being like, I can't close my eye. Like I couldn't blink. I had to like with my finger
push it down,
which is interesting because you'd think your eye would dry out,
and it didn't.
Maybe I just kept closing it.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, and so I had just moved to Seattle. I'm like making all these like new friends because we're going out. I don't know why I didn't just stay home.
You were going out.
I was like, I don't care. I'm 19. Yeah, half my face is paralyzed, but I'm gonna still do it. So people were like, somebody asked me if I had a glass eye. Somebody else met me, and in their phone they put Irina frozen face.
Really? That's so mean.
That's so mean. But I don't know, like it didn't bother me. Now
the
I would have never.
On you is
I can't
ridiculous.
believe I was that confident. I'm not a confident person, so I don't know why I wasn't bothered by it. I also cannot believe I didn't even go to the doctor. Because I had just moved to Seattle. I didn't want to like drive back to Idaho and like figure out what was wrong. But I also didn't want to see a doctor because I didn't have like insurance in Seattle.
Oh, like an out of network thing.
Yeah. And so I was like, I had just moved. so broke, like didn't have any money even to pay for a doctor. So I was like, I think it will go away. I don't know. I want to say I can't remember if it was a week or 2 weeks. It might have been 2 weeks. That's a long time.
What were your okay, so I'm not going to the hospital.
I looked it up. I Googled it.
And
I, sure enough, it said, and I remember reading about it, and it was like, this is what I have.
Okay, so
it said on the website, most of the time within 2 weeks, it goes away. And I think that reassured me. And I was like, okay, I don't need to go see a doctor. I'm fine.
Let's go out.
Let's go out. Let's meet new people.
Did you have any remedies at home that you're like, maybe if I do this, it'll feel better?
No, because when I Googled it, it said nothing you do can help. There's literally nothing. It said like you can go try acupuncture and
very Eastern medicine.
Yeah, things like that if you go to the doctor and have them. But those were really the only things, and there was like nothing else.
Did you tell your parents? Did you call your mom?
Yeah, I called my mom. She was like, go to the doctor. And I was like, no, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I look great.
She's like, come home. I'll take you to the doctor.
Yeah.
Wild.
When my, not to take away from your disability.
Yeah, how dare you? It was a rough time in my life.
When I woke up with an eye closed, like completely shut, and like the fluid shifted in one eye first. Fortunately, it was one eye because I don't know what I would do if both eyes closed.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been like just laying there for a day, like straight day.
I literally cannot open my eyes. You actually try to tape your eyes.
Well, that's what I was going with. Like I did remedies. I was like, well, if my eye's just falling down, and it was actually exhausting trying to force your eye like open.
Yeah.
And it did a little bit, but it's so, like essentially not open.
It's a lot of work.
It's trying to keep the lid up. Mm-hmm. And you're like, it's just the muscle's getting fatigued. So I took steri strips. That's what they use to like superficially close down like an open wound that needs stitches. And I just put 2 steri strips from my eyelid up to my eyebrows and just like holding up. And I was like,
it worked.
This is fine. I feel better. The boys came in the house in the living room after they woke up. They're like, what's going on with your face?
What's wrong with you, Dad?
And then I started using these little remedies of like taking an ice pack to my face.
Yeah.
Trying to like
do you feel like that helped?
The muscle. It helped, but for like 10 minutes, and then it warms up.
Because it's fluid, it shifts.
It shifts, yeah. But then
That's
I
funny.
texted the doc, and I was like, the surgeon. He's not a surgeon. I think they're called just plastic surgeons or whatever they are. And I was like, hey, this happened to me. He's like, oh shoot. I was like, is there anything I can take, like an antihistamine? And he was like, no, unfortunately. And he's like, if you can come down to the office, I can give you some stuff that will help it a little bit. And I go, cool, say less. I pull up to the office. And he's like, okay, so here's these drops. We give them to gals who want to have like this Disney princess look. I was like, what's that? He goes, well, what ends up happening is you put these eye drops in your eye and it touches the receptors of the muscle around the eye. And what it does, it constricts those muscles to make this
your
like
very
popped.
I didn't notice the difference.
Very awake and alert kind of thing. But it helped me because it felt like it helped the muscle tighten up a little bit. It lasted for like 8 hours. And so I got to do it a few times. So it didn't fix it, but it just helped keep that eyelid open a little bit.
Just enough.
Just enough for me to
until it shifted the fluid.
Exactly. Just enough to me like not to have steri strips on it. Yeah.
It's like, what can I do to keep my eye open?
I felt like I was a hot mess.
I know. And the fact that every day you look different because first it was higher up. So like your eyelids, the top eyelids were like heavy, and then it was your bottom eyelids that were like heavy. So it's like you looked like a different person every day.
And then the bridge of my nose
and then it was your nose, and it was like your nose was wider.
And then my lower eyelids, they became bruised, like yellow from
just a little bit. I feel like that wasn't as big, but it was like just the fluid shifting down your face made you look different every day.
And you kept taking me to people. Like we had dinner plans with people.
Well, 'cause we already had the plans.
There was a day that I was like, I can't drive. You have to drive because I can't see.
Yeah, I literally cannot see.
I had my buddy come over for on the golf simulator to hit some balls, and I'm looking at the ball, and it's not like teed up. We're not hitting driver. I'm using an iron, and I swear I took 7 swings and I missed the ball every single time because the lower eyelids were so.
You just couldn't see.
I could see the ball, but I couldn't have enough proximity to the ball.
Yeah,
and I literally swung over the ball 7 times, and I was like, okay, I think we should be done playing golf right now.
I think we're done. That's it. Well, I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, it was. I remember the first day that I was like, I feel somewhat normal.
Yeah.
That was nice.
You could tell like it was just a little bit of fluid left, and it was like, okay, you're back.
Yeah. I was like, I feel like myself a little bit, but then my sinuses went off. I had the wildest month because what ended up happening is 3 weeks before the thing happened, before the procedure, I got an upper respiratory infection. Like I lost and I still don't have my voice fully, but I lost my voice. I had this crazy suffocating dry cough, sleeping terribly, all this stuff. And then as we're getting closer, no, I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks before the procedure. I go to like urgent care. They prescribe me some steroids. I feel better like in a day or two. Then like 2 days before the procedure, they told me like 7 days before the procedure, like don't be on any supplements, don't be on any kind of drugs or anything like that, because what ends up happening is like you might have a reaction, fluid stuff. Right. So 2 days before the procedure, I get an ear infection while I still have my upper respiratory thing.
You can't take anything.
Though my upper respiratory thing's not cleared up, I have an ear infection. I can't take anything. So I'm dealing with an ear that I can't hear out of at all. It's like I can't barely fit a Q-tip through it, all this stuff. It's swollen. Go to my procedure. I feel miserable. They get it done. They give me...
You can't take anything after either.
They can't take anything after. But he gave me a prescription of like pain medication to deal with this. And then what you call it, an antibiotic, so my body like doesn't.
So I wonder if that hit your ear infection.
That 1,000%, because literally one day of taking antibiotics, my ear felt better. Yeah.
It's like, well,
I told him how miserable I was. He's like, you'll feel better. I was like, oh God, thank you. And I was like, and then after it was all said and done,
now you have your congestion,
my congestion,
your sinus stuff,
the running. Listen, you know what I'm addicted to right now? I'll tell you what addiction I have right now is. I'm addicted to neti potting right now.
You are.
I am a neti potting king.
You do it morning and night now.
It feels so good.
I need to do it.
First of all, I bought a really nice neti pot. Not like, so neti pots back 10 years ago used to be this like child's looking like
actually like teapot
thing you pour it. I was like, this is stupid. The ones I have right now is essentially a baby bottle, like a nice tall baby bottle with a hook for the nozzle thing, the sprayer nozzle thing that screws on top, and then this like perfectly nasal fitted like seal thing, and you just flip that sucker up, and there's like a vent tube, so like the air bubbles go through it, and you just press it in,
squeeze it, and it goes through.
And it came with saline, so you put like this magnesium salt in there, mix it up.
Nice.
A little warm water, and the amount of stuff that comes. I'm sorry if this is gross to anybody who listen to it.
Sounds like satisfying.
But how good I feel, and the amount of crud that comes out.
Ugh.
It was so, I'm so into it that last night, but first of all, my sleep is very important to me now. Like I got my physical done, figured out how to get better sleep, all this stuff.
Important.
Yeah. And so now I'm like, okay, can't have any more alcohol past like 7 p.m. It's going to interfere with your sleep. Don't eat past 7.
You can't eat, you can't drink nothing. Yeah.
And then so last night you were out at a book club, and I went to bed at 10:30, brushed my teeth, floss, blah, 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 got into bed, and I'm feeling like I'm like, sniffling, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, you can't. You've slept fantastic for the last 7 days. You cannot ruin this streak. So I got out of bed, hit up a neti pot, a couple of doses of that, cleaned it up, went back in, slept like a baby.
Felt great.
Slept like a baby.
I feel like I need to try it.
Neti pots are the shit. Like I'm telling you, they are the best.
So
Kyle,
you also learned.
No, I did. You gotta hit up that
Not
pot.
yet.
You gotta hit up that pot, bro.
That pot. That NP.
Yeah, I love it, man. Especially if you do have a lot of postnasal drip.
It helps.
Or like I guess when I was in bed, not only was I sniffing, but one of my nostrils was already occluded.
Yeah, I think that helps when you're
it
actually like clogged up.
Yeah, so if you're like, I can't breathe out of my left nostril, but on my right I can.
You should do it to our kids when they can't sleep because their nose is plugged.
Good luck. Good luck getting our kids to use a neti pot and the bidet. Good luck.
Our kids will not use a bidet.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they're missing.
Yeah,
it's that bad.
It's that good.
It's not good, I guess. More for us.
More for us.
More bidet.
More warm water for us.
Well, my recommendation is you need to go see an ENT and get your tonsils.
So the tonsils are 100%. She says you probably snore because of this. And I was like, I do snore. She's like, yeah, your tonsils are ginormous.
The weird thing is you've only snored like recently in the last few months.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Maybe my tonsils are a little bit bigger. I think one's bigger.
Especially when you got sick, they probably got bigger.
Yeah. You know what I might do after this podcast?
Get your tonsils out?
No, I might hit a neti pot. It's a quick little,
Do
like a quick little midday,
little neti pot sesh.
midday pick me up. That'd be nice.
Have you ever done a neti pot with somebody else?
I've never tandem.
Tandem neti potted.
Dang.
What?
Here's what I'm actually thinking. I'm thinking is 2 neti pots, one in each nostril, and it comes out of your mouth. It comes out of your mouth.
That's a full flush out.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
You know what we used to do with kids when I was back in my previous life working as a respiratory therapist? During the winter season is where an RSV season's hot, like for kids, upper respiratory thing for the kids. And in the hospital setting, we can't do anything. It's an infection. They have a lot of mucus running on down of it. Kids are obligatory. We're talking about neonates are like obligatory. Look at me talking like my old way.
I know. You can't even say the word.
Obligatory nasal breathers. And so they're breathing through their nose. So if you're a first time mom and your kid's like 1, there are like frequent flyers. They're like, so there's literally nothing we can do except for like suctioning all that stuff through it. So we would suction them. So we had this mechanical suctioning thing. So we actually created like, I don't remember what the pressure was, just a little sucking tool. And we'd put it in one of the kids' nostrils to suck. And then in the other nostril, we would squirt this little plastic vial of saline. So
the pink vials.
Pink vials. So one side where it's sucking and the other side is going in, and we call that around the world. And so essentially we're mechanically like neti potting them.
Yeah. And swirling it around.
Yeah, and they scream bloody murder, but then they feel better because
it clears it up.
So neti potting is the way of life.
Well, I feel like next time Harper has a stuffed nose,
well, we don't have mechanical suction.
No, the neti pot.
Well, you can't. I mean, it's like torture. Especially for the kids, it's gonna feel such a wild. Have you ever potted?
No, I haven't
You've
potted.
Never potted? You got to pot. So it's
a weird feeling
because what ends up happening is people don't understand this. It's not necessarily that here's your nostril and here's the bridge of your nose and it goes around. It's not that at all. Behind the bridge of the nose is a cavity. Like it is probably the size of like, I don't know what to compare it to. Like it's maybe the size of like 2 of your fingers. It's a large area. And what ends up happening is that cavity is where all the mucus builds up. And that's the same cavity that swells up, and that's where you have the pressure sinus thing, right?
I'm thinking of a skull. Like when you see a skull, you see that empty.
There's an empty
right
space,
there.
and that's your cavity, and that's what. So when you're squeezing like a few ounces of water, and it fills it up, like a shot glass, maybe even 2 shot glasses worth of maybe a shot glass full of things, and then once it's full, it like comes out of the other nostril, and then some of it will go out of your mouth. Like, again, sorry if this is TMI information, but. So
I'm sure that feels great though.
I mean, if you're an adult, know what to expect. With kids, they're like, what's this? Why is this filling up my brain? Yeah.
Well, maybe it's worth it. I don't know.
I've never thought I'd be so passionate about.
I know the amount of minutes we've spent talking about neti potting.
Yeah. It's a way of life.
It's a way of life.
Yeah. You don't just net, you pot.
You have, it's a thing, and it's a both.
Yeah.
Net and a pot.
Yeah, it's best $12 you'll ever spend on Amazon.
On Amazon. You should include a link,
an affiliate link,
description below.
Make millions off of it.
Oh my gosh!
All right, well, this has been fun. Happy New Year, everybody! Thanks for listening. We're back. We're back at it. Irina was gonna cancel this because she had a lunch.
No, I was here.
You were here, but
I was here, ready to
rumble. All right,
ready to rumble.
Happy New Year's, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Watch us on YouTube. Share this podcast. We're having a blast doing it, and we can hopefully continue to grow.
See you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.